Getting beat up by 9 guys at Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jarod Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. You're Stone Cold
I have received an email.
Don't forget to email the show at heeltotheface@hotmail.com.
Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah, New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 more for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it!
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jarod.
I might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
Heel to the Face podcast for the last week of September 2017 is on the air. We are coming off a Sunday with No Mercy on the WWE Network. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown were busy as ever as they are getting ready over there on SmackDown for Hell in a Cell and other news and notes in the world of sports entertainment as we are joined this week, as always, with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. Paul Boy Green Esden on the phone lines. You can find him on Twitter at BoyGreen25 and myself, Jarod, at Just Jarod Wicks, without the just, on Twitter as well. But most importantly, you're going to follow the podcast at Heel to the Face. That's where we post our Twitter question of the week, our tweets of the week, and our weekly podcast itself. So no website needed. Just follow at Heel to the Face. And No Mercy this past Sunday night. Only one title changed hands. Enzo Amore became the new Cruiserweight champion. But other than that, Brock Lesnar is still your Universal Champion. And as I told somebody on Sunday, I don't care how long it lasts. I never want to see Brock Lesnar not the champion. It's so strange because in the world of sports, you hate dynasties. You hate the Yankees. You hate the Patriots. You hate I didn't really hate, but I disliked a lot the Chicago Bulls of the 90s. You hate these teams that win all the time, but Brock Lesnar, and that's the worst part, is you hate if they win and they dominate, like aka the UConn Huskies in women's basketball. But Brock Lesnar, I want to see him be the UConn Huskies of women's basketball. I don't want to see competition. I love when he goes out there and dominates people. That's entertaining for me. Paul, do you agree? I know you said Braun Strowman was going to win this past Sunday. He did not. This is not the era of Braun Strowman. What is your opinion on seeing Brock Lesnar dominate? Is that something you want to just see till the end of time?
I can see the interest. I can see the intrigue in terms of why someone would want Brock Lesnar to continue to dominate, and that's because he's a pay-per-view. He's a buy. When you tell me that he's on Monday Night Raw, and I know we're all 3 super wrestling freaks, so we're going to watch either way, but if you say that this guy's going to make an appearance here, that's going to get more eyes on the prize. So I get the attraction of Brock Lesnar. I would have liked to see Braun Strowman. I think he's been on a destructive path over the last several weeks that has thrown multiple wrestlers' bodies at roadside, and I think that he has earned an opportunity to become champion. Just kind of see how it works and how it goes, and I think there's an interesting balance. There's a fine line between a dynasty and having parity, and then having some consistency. So I was perfectly fine with Brock Lesnar winning. I had predicted that Braun Strowman would get that chance. As long as they portray it in an interesting way, because it seems like it's leading us and leading the GOATs to a Brock Lesnar getting his head chopped off by Roman Reigns as the Lord and Savior. That's what it seems like this is all leading to eventually at some point. And if they frame it in the right way, potentially that could work out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that to a point. I do think it was a good match overall, considering Brock Lesnar's known for his, 30-second matches, it seems like. I thought it was good. It did. I mean, in defeat, Braun still looked pretty badass, in my opinion. I thought, he took the brunt of those shots. I mean, yes, he ended up losing. He ended up falling to Brock Lesnar, but they put on a pretty good show. I thought it was a decent match. I think either guy in defeat would have looked fine because it was a hell of a match. So, and I think you're right. It does lead to Roman Reigns down the pipe.
Yeah, they are making Brock Lesnar look weaker. Again, this isn't He hasn't had in the 2017 calendar year any of the squash matches like he had in years past. Obviously, it all led off the end of 2016 with that big loss at Survivor Series to Goldberg, and then obviously losing again at the Royal Rumble in the sense of being eliminated, and then the match at the pay-per-view of WrestleMania, in which he finally got revenge. But either way, none of his matches have been this dominating thing. I kind of feel like I wanted to go back to that before he maybe has his WrestleMania match. So maybe at Survivor Series, we need to see him dominate again against whoever they're going to have him face next. When do you think he's going to be fighting next, and who?
Survivor Series?
Who?
That is a good question. I mean, I don't see it being Braun Strowman. I think if you're going to do anything with Braun Strowman, I think he's going to be on a destructive path going in some other direction at this time. That is a very good question. I mean, there's a couple guys I could see doing it, but I mean, right now, I mean, you don't pull the string and do Roman Reigns this early. You don't go to Survivor Series and
unless they want to do like they did with Goldberg like last year and have him face Roman Reigns, maybe beat Roman Reigns, and then Roman maybe fight again, and then like the third time, or actually Survivor Series would be quote unquote the second time. They already met at WrestleMania once,
yeah.
So the third time, similar. That would be similar to what they did with Goldberg. The first time was WrestleMania 20 years before, then Survivor Series, then a few months later at WrestleMania. So when WrestleMania, Survivor Series, WrestleMania, they could do that Roman Reigns, WrestleMania years before, then Survivor Series, and maybe Brock Lesnar wins, and then Roman Reigns is like, because he's technically 0-2 because in that match he did lose. He lost to Seth Rollins getting pinned.
Yeah, Seth Rollins won that match.
So it would be their third and final encounter. They could hype that up like they've done before. But I don't find the Roman Reigns-Brock Lesnar match, even with the result, because we all knew the result of the Goldberg-Brock Lesnar match and that Brock Lesnar was going to win. But I don't find the Roman Reigns story with Brock Lesnar compelling.
What about this? If say that is the direction they go, and say Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, that's the next thing that's coming up on the menu, so to speak. Why not have Roman Reigns win it? Say it's Survivor Series. I mean, we're obviously projecting this out. Win it Survivor Series, and then say they build something up, and then Brock Lesnar, him and Brock Lesnar face off at Royal Rumble, maybe something along those lines, and maybe it's and I hate giving the titles back and forth, but maybe Brock gets it back, and then they finally say, okay, this is let's settle all the scores and just say this is the last match between Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I mean, that's really kind of
that might intrigue me if Roman Reigns went into WrestleMania as the champion, in the sense that Roman Reigns would be the champion if he won a Survivor Series and held the championship over. It would be intriguing in the sense of Brock Lesnar's fighting for that championship, and then Roman Reigns with the belt could have this extra cockiness, this extra charisma that he doesn't have right now over Brock Lesnar, a man that he can say that he beat. You know what I mean? And there's not a lot of people that are running around saying they beat Brock Lesnar and they'll take him on again. Who cares? There's really nobody doing that. So that would be interesting. If it's Brock Lesnar as the champion versus Roman Reigns chasing it, I feel like we've seen, because obviously everybody's chasing Brock Lesnar, and I feel like we've seen that before. I'd rather see other people chase him than Roman Reigns.
If say that plays out, I mean, where does this go for Braun Strowman then? Where does he go? That's the big caveat.
That would be more, and I tell you what, I feel that maybe they would do that at a Survivor Series, like a triple threat. But if you made WrestleMania a triple threat, I might be more interested in that. And the reason is because Brock Lesnar's losing the belt, but at least there's two options, so there'll be somewhat of a surprise. Yeah. It stinks when the Patriots are going to lose, but there's 100 other teams or a bunch of other teams in the NFL, so you're like, well, who are they going to lose to? If they're going to lose and they're facing one person, it's obviously a result of, well, that person's going to be...
Oh, he's dropping the title. That's what's going to happen.
So if it's one-on-one and one person's going to lose, and that obviously makes the other person the victor. So if it's a triple threat match, Brock Lesnar, who's going to lose because his contract ends after WrestleMania, at least you're going to be like, well, which person is he going to lose the belt to? Who's going to be leading off WrestleMania with the championship?
Let me pose this to the panel here. Do you think Roman Reigns gets the title before Braun Strowman, or vice versa? I'll start with Paul. Paul, I know you're typing away back there. Who do you go with? Do you think Braun Strowman gets the title before Roman Reigns, or do you think it goes the other way?
I think Strowman gets it first. Again, I think that we're delaying the inevitable here of this Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar. It's almost like we all know what's going to happen, but we just don't know when that's going to happen. So I anticipate Strowman getting that chance before Reigns. Ultimately, if we're holding this out to, like, let's say WrestleMania, and right now we're in September. So I think maybe they could delay that for some time. So the ultimate question here is who's next for Brock Lesnar, who next could get that opportunity. And while he's entangled in some other storylines right now, maybe it could be time. And I know the size difference. I know what Jared's going to say about this already. But Finn Balor potentially unleashing that card against Lesnar.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, no, I could see it as well, because you have Finn Balor, who is really exhausting everything he's got with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, let's move on from the damn thing. I'm over
done.
it. Let's move on from that. That's the guy, and I'm glad you brought that up, Paul. I think Finn Balor, I'm a Balor Club guy. I want to see what he can do. This whole Bray Wyatt thing, let's just move on from it. Let's let him do his thing. That's another guy I could see thrown in the mix there.
Do you see this? Now, there's these large amount of rumors going around that the Shield is going to reunite at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. Do you see that as a distraction for the fact that the Universal Championship is probably not going to be on the line at the next pay-per-view?
Yeah, I can see that.
Here's the reason why we're putting the Shield back together is because we need a main event that is not a championship. Because every pay-per-view, for the most part, SmackDown, if you have Jinder Mahal as your champion, he's main eventing every single pay-per-view and defending it every pay-per-view. So this is what you're saying is the championship is not going to be on the line nor in the building at this pay-per-view event. So what are we going to sell? And it seems like John Cena's taking a hiatus as well.
Yeah, that's
so
what it looks like,
what are we going to sell for Tables, Ladders, and Chairs in Minneapolis? So it looks like the Shield reunion, it's kind of like one of those Survivor Series style main events where, like, Hulk Hogan, he would be the champion, but he's not defending it. He'd team up with a bunch of people, and it'd be like this superstar tag team match. And I think that's what the Shield, I think that's what we're going to see, kind of like we saw Survivor Series years ago when Rock and John Cena knew they were going to fight at WrestleMania. At Survivor Series, Rock and John Cena teamed up to take on The Miz and R-Truth, and that was the Survivor Series main event. It was like the two who are going to collide are going to be on the same team, so they were hyping up this like superstar tag match that had nothing on the line, essentially.
Do you see this as a one-off then for the Shield? Do you see that as
I see it as just like a distraction. I see it as like the Shield reunites for one night only to main event Tables, Ladders, and Chairs against The Miz
and the Miztourage.
And the Miztourage. So I see that as your main event.
Especially at those poignant comments by Roman Reigns. I mean, he was like, we'll beat y'all's ass. He's like y'all don't want that. You put us three boys together, and then of course Roman Reigns, he's like, well, I'm going for the title. So it's kind of like he's trying to like brush it off. But I think we all can agree that I think this whole Shield reunion, if it's a one-off, I think it's going to happen here between the Miztourage. Paul, what do you think?
A complete one-off. I think they would definitely maximize it, and you guys are all reading kind of the tea leaves here. I think this is leading us to believe that, yes, the Universal Championship will not be on the line at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. And then you have everything else with, Asuka's debut and everything else. I think they could possibly pull it off without a lot of fanfare in terms of, guys, where's the Universal Championship tonight? So I think that they'll be able to tell from that standpoint, and a one-off would make a lot of sense. That faction has a lot of popularity throughout WWE history.
So how about Enzo closing the show this past week on Monday Night Raw? Enzo, the new Cruiserweight champion, as I mentioned, the only new champion to come out of No Mercy. And I was watching Raw, and I was very confused because, I watch it in pieces. I kind of switch the channel, and I get a little confused sometimes, what's going on, trying to, follow along because I'm just watching it piece by piece. And it's getting later in the night, and I realized that all the main segments that they were hyping up have already happened. So I was like, well, what is the main event? There's still 10 minutes left. What's going to happen? And that's when Enzo came out. That was quite a surprise. They have their own show. And normally when they have big things, you try to save it for your own show.
Yeah.
So for him, and especially to the Cruiserweights, them to go off the air on Raw with the Cruiserweights was very unique. Did you like that angle?
I liked it from a perspective of, let's say like this, and Enzo pointed it out. His merchandise sales are through the roof. He pretty much said, do
you like this new Enzo? And that's another question. Do you like this new Enzo?
I love the new Enzo. I am totally on board. I love the finish. I think him as this cocky, arrogant heel that we're seeing that he is right now, where he's kind of like, yeah, the whole Cruiserweight division, the whole 205 Live, you guys can put all your merchandise checks combined, and it still ain't going to match mine. It ain't going to be close. And I love this new Enzo. I think this thing with Neville, I think it's going to be very good. And I think it was good for the 205 Live product because, you get that late night, that late night rush where people are like, oh, usually it's like, oh, this is where Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns is at. Oh, we got Enzo. And I'm not going to say 205 Live is going to blow up and everybody's going to be watching it, but I think this might kick up the ratings a little bit. I think it already has because